Here is the goal for becoming a highly motivated artist. A highly motivated artist goes to do their artwork with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and while they do their artwork, they experience low resistance, they are not that distracted, and find it easy to fulfill all the artistic points that they want to make it to. So how do we achieve this? So it's important to begin to look at the roadblocks that you run across when you're making your artwork, to become sensitive to what resistance you meet with, to things that take your energy away from making your art when they shouldn't. And the state of resistance, or the roadblock I want to talk about today, is perfectionism. Now, I know that as soon as I said the word perfectionism, there were a lot of you out there that were like, oh, I'm not a perfectionist, no problem. But we all suffer from perfectionism to some degree. What I'm talking about is, while working on the art, you notice something that isn't quite working, that isn't quite right. The color does not quite compositionally work as well with the other colors in the work. The note is not quite right. But in experiencing that, it makes us unhappy, and that's what we want to look at. And if we train ourselves to recognize when the imperfections in our art are needlessly taking energy away from us and making our creative process a less enjoyable process, the more that we can remove those barriers and find it a lot easier to make our art. So first of all, it's our attitude about what has happened. So we're drawing a portrait and the nose isn't quite right. And on a subconscious level, it takes our energy away, it makes us a little bit unhappy, because it's like we're to blame. We drew the nose wrong. And it is our attitude that it isn't working. The way we should look at it is that we, in working towards drawing the portrait, it's going to happen that things don't quite match up at first, and we're working through a process of adjustment. It wasn't our fault that the nose was wrong. We needed to get to a point when, in comparing it to the eyes and the other parts of the face, that we could make that adjustment, but we couldn't get to that point unless we put the nose down there in the first place. So let's say that you're going to do a jigsaw puzzle. What's the first thing that you do? Well, you have to lay out all the pieces on the table. Now, when you first do that, that is total imperfection. That is a cacophony. Those pieces are completely not working. Everything is wrong. Nothing is fitting. That is in the greatest state of disorder that puzzle is going to be in. And do you make yourself unhappy while you're working on it? Do you think about, oh, I've got this all wrong, I've done this wrong, it looks terrible, while you're working on it? No, you go and you make improvements and you make adjustments and you enjoy seeing it get better. But while you're enjoying seeing it get better, you're not giving yourself any feedback about how awful the state it is in now. And you're not in a hurry to finish it. What happens as soon as you perfect that puzzle? What happens as soon as you finish it? Interest gone. It's done. You finished it. The fact is that we should learn to enjoy these states of imperfection, because that is the situation we enter into every time we want to be creative. What about the stereotype of artists, that artists are disorganized, that not all artists, but so often a creative personality, their household is cluttered, you can never find anything, nothing is filed in the right category, their socks are mixed up with their other clothes, and they have all their kitchen stuff in their bathroom, and bathroom stuff in the living room, and you've got living room stuff out on the out in the yard, and everything's just all mixed up. Now, it isn't so much that is something that you need to be an artist, but what I think has happened is that there might be a lot of very creative people that don't end up being an artist because they can't tolerate the messiness of being creative. They can't tolerate the situations of chaos that you need to enter into in order to start working creatively. But when you have people who thrive in those situations, who their minds work great and they're enthusiastic and they enjoy sorting things out and making things fit, these are people that are more likely to stay in creative situations and eventually grow into full-fledged artists. I'm not just talking about learning to accept the messiness of the creative process. I'm talking about learning to revel in it, to really enjoy it, because this can become a powerful creative tool because it gives you the freedom. If you can make even a bigger mess, if you could, like say that you're working on a story and you go in there and you, as quickly as possible, write a draft where you're throwing in all these ideas and you know that things aren't quite working. If you create even a greater mess of a first draft, then when you go back you have even more material to start to make connections, and you could even come up with a deeper story with connections happening on the most visible levels, and then connections happening with thematic levels. And so learning to realize that imperfection is really a wonderful thing. So the next time you're working on an art project and you feel like you urgently need to fix it and it's not working and you just want to get it to work right and you're frustrated, realize, just relax. As soon as you fix everything and make it so that all the parts fit together and work with each other in a happy organism and everything looks just right, you'll be done with it. Then what you'll do, you'll start a new project, meaning you'll throw yourself into the next chaotic situation. Learn to look for the potential in imperfect situations. When you're first starting out and it's all a huge mess and nothing is fit together yet, that is a place where you have the most potential to find new connections. As you start to make things work together, you've made the connection with certain things. You're not as likely to try out different connections and different ways that your artistic piece can work. So in the most imperfect of state, that's the most potential state where you could come up, where you can discover things no one else has discovered before. As the more and more you refine your art project, work on it, make it what it should be, the less and less that you're as likely to stumble upon those serendipitous points where you find the new wonderful insight that you get so excited about. And so those initial states are really the ones where you want to relax and take your time and realize as you do, it's where you're doing more experimenting, it's where you're making more discoveries, it's where you're trying things out that have not been tried out before. So it's really the optimum state for a creative individual. If you run an operating system on your computer, if they came up with the perfect operating system, say that it's operating system 4.0, well, if it were perfect, you could never look forward to 5.0. And if the model of your car, if they had perfected it, they would never come out with next year's model. It is the idea that our universe exists in time. It is always moving and it is changing, and it is never the same universe it was the second before, meaning that it's constantly going through different states of imperfection. If the only way that you could have a perfect universe was one that was perfectly still, because the minute that it took place in time, the minute that things moved and changed, it would completely become imperfect. It helps to become a lot more relaxed about imperfection in your artwork to realize that everyone around us is totally dead center in the region of imperfection. The more that you learn to absolutely love imperfection, the better artist you're going to become. It's one of the funnest, best ways to really advance how good an artist you are. It is very important to constantly want to make our artwork better while we're working on it, but not necessarily perfect. And to have that attitude of enjoying making the improvements, balanced out by the attitude of enjoying the chaos of things that have not yet been formed into a completed project. So when things aren't quite working in your artwork, it isn't about making them right. It's about trying different things and making new discoveries. It isn't about fixing it. It's about trying new combinations and just trying it just to see. It doesn't have to work, but just to see how different things work and what happens when we try different things. So your conscious mind is like a flashlight that you can shine on different parts of your subconscious mind. So if you're going along doing your artwork and then it dawns on you, wow, there's something where I'm losing some energy, I'm feeling unhappiness, I'm getting resistance while doing this. And if you stop and think, okay, what was I thinking? What were the attitudes I was having? And you start, exploring a little bit your subconscious mind and discover that you're bummed that this one part of your artwork isn't working, it's imperfect. And just tell yourself, okay, I'm just going to relax, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to cut myself a little bit of slack. I'm never going to reach perfectionism, and that isn't even really my goal. I'm just going to take a look at this, and if it isn't quite working, that is okay. It's not going to ruin the entire project. It's not going to wipe out all the potential that people might get out of enjoying this project. I'm realize that you're in a situation where you can make new discoveries, and these are the kind of situations that you want as an artist. It's a situation where you're more likely to discover more of your creative potential than if you're in a situation where everything is all just going to fall into place. And it's fine. That's fun if it all happens to fall into place. But if you're in a situation where you need to try a few more fitting things together before it starts to work, you're going to learn more and you're going to become a better artist. If you're not coming up with enough new ideas, if you don't feel like you really have created anything really new recently, maybe you're playing it too safe. Maybe you're playing along with the things that you know work, and it's important to really start out, make for yourself a really artistic mess that is going to take a lot more sorting out and working with. After a while, you will start to have an emotional response towards these imperfect situations that artists work in, because you see it as a place of potential, a place of uncovering the gold, a place of making new discoveries. It's not just a neutral tolerance of messy, imperfect artwork that isn't working yet, but an actual excitement for it, salivating for it. Also, don't take any credit for how things are not working in your art. The creative process is inherently sloppy, chaotic, a mess, incongruent, put together in the most ill-conceived way while you were working on it. That is the nature of working creatively. And it isn't your fault. You're not a bad artist for it being that way. That is the environment. And the most creative environment at the beginning is going to start out the most chaotic, the most random, the most this and that way. And it's a big part of being creative to start to form the relationships in your art, to start to make it work together as an organism. But you have to start out with it being a mess. Okay, I hope you got something out of this video. I make these videos so that I have a chance to get the word out about my artistic project at solomation.com. I'm putting up webisodes you can view all of the ones I have finished. And please, if you have any time, go check that out. And please encourage me to make more of these tutorials by hitting the like button, subscribing. Please leave a comment. I appreciate all the comments. I read them all. And thank you very much for all the wonderful feedback. I hope your art goes great. I hope that your joy in discovery is something. I hope you continually enjoy discovery, and have a good day. What happens a lot is that while we go to work on improving our artwork, we're also vaguely aware. We're not just aware of the one point or the one way that we want to improve it or fix it, but we're also kind of aware of all these other things, especially just starting out. And that creates a lot of pressure, because you have this feeling like, oh, I'm trying to fix this, but there are still all these other things wrong with it at the same time. Now, really decide ahead of time, consciously decide, I'm just going to focus, I'm going to forget about all those others. Yes, I know that there still needs to be work done, but I've only got one conscious mind. I'm going to work on fixing this one part and just relax about the rest of it. I'm just going to focus on this one part. And then when you've enjoyed spending all the time that you need to spend to get that one thing going just the way you like it, then you can go ahead and okay, now I'll pick the next one. I'll go to and work on that. And it's a matter of realizing that subconsciously, if you're feeling too much push and pull about these other things, to say, okay, well, we're going to forget about that for now. Right now, we're just going to worry about this one part. You're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere faster by rushing artwork. You'll get more in the long run by